Hello everyone, Jill here. Recently, we've been emphasizing a lot on releasing games lists for RPG including the subgenre. So I feel like maybe this is a good time to take a little refreshment and play something else. Seeing that a lot of people actually love playing multiplayer FPS games, so I decided to make one just for the sake of dynamic. Alright then, let's get started.
Let's get to the stand!
Left 4 Dead 2 is a survival horror FPS game developed by Valve Corporation. Though plenty of other games offer cooperative gameplay against mobs of enemies, this game's multiplayer is still one of the best in the genre even today. The game's graphics and sound design is obviously outdated, but the perfect gameplay design is what surely keeps you playing. Team Fortress 2 is a multiplayer FPS game developed and published by Valve Corporation. The game has received critical acclaim for its art direction, gameplay, humor, and use of character in a wholly multiplayer game. The objective is always very straightforward. It's the interplay between the 9 playable classes that makes things so varied and interesting. Staying relevant even a year after release is rare for a competitive shooter, and yet here's Team Fortress 2 still lively after 15 years in the business. Splitgate is a free-to-play multiplayer FPS game developed and published by 1047 Games. You might have heard Splitgate described as Halo meets Portal, and it's not wrong. Placing portals give you endless chances to outthink and outplay your opponents, which means you can climb the ranks even if you don't have the best aim. The game is fun, free, and surely it deserves at least a few hours of your time. Gunfire Reborn is ridiculously good. You run around dungeons shooting enemies with an arsenal of amazingly fun to use weapons. It's not just different guns that make the combat awesome. There are also a few different characters that all have their own abilities. All of these characters play really differently and they change the way you approach the game. Overall, Gunfire Reborn is a really great game that has super fun and satisfying mechanics and is fairly cheap for what it is. Despite its evolution over the past 6 years, Rainbow Six Siege has always been a battle between attackers and defenders over a single objective. There are 5 operators per team, each with their own special gadgets that can be used to slow the attackers or poke holes in the defenders' fortifications. Playing this game with friends is usually more fun than solo queuing, and the benefits of communicating and working together make Siege a more enjoyable experience when playing with people you know. It's not that solo queuing is unplayable, as it's not uncommon to find players that are interested in coordinating as a team, but you will inevitably come across players more interested in taking the objective on their own.
Your drone has found a bomb.
Arma 3 represents an aesthetic overhaul of the series. From the dynamic lighting, a volumetric cloud system, genuine vehicle physics, and many more. With voice-connected friends and a good user-created mission, Arma 3 is an excellent war story generator. It takes a long time to comprehend, but once you're comfortable enough with its mechanics to take advantage of them under pressure, you're able to engage in a kind of large-scale tactical combat that's simply not offered elsewhere. Insurgency Sandstorm is an excellent multiplayer shooter that successfully avoids the common pitfalls of military simulation, but still manages to deliver a sense of realism to its modern Middle Eastern setting. Insurgency Sandstorm isn't the prettiest shooter today, but the places where it excels are the places that matter to most players. Its gunplay is superb, and the game's design are decent enough to facilitate its frantic and immersive FPS combat. As with any Call of Duty game, the standard multiplayer modes is here. There isn't much to say about the modes themselves. They are basically the bread and butter of the multiplayer Call of Duty experience, and most of them work well. Cold War mechanics feels a bit clumsier than Modern Warfare, but still it doesn't ruin the experience from the game. The fact that Squad marched around early access for almost 5 years before its official release might tell you something. From a distance, the fundamentals appear deceptively simple. Success or failure is utterly dependent on your team's ability to play in the way that Squad intends. It's worth mentioning at this point that the maps in Squad are huge. This is just one of many reasons why trying to lone wolf it is unwise, unfair to your team, and doomed to fail. The ruthlessness of the gameplay is both Squad's greatest strength and deepest weakness. Its refusal to meaningfully guide players will turn off some, but these same systems provide an experience unlike any other. On the surface, Hell Let Loose is a large-scale team-based multiplayer shooter set across a varied selection of World War II battlefields. However, it takes more than twitch reflexes and good aim to succeed. In addition to being a first-person shooter that's largely about capturing and holding strong points on a map, Hell Let Loose is a tactical strategy game played between two players who take on the commander role for their respective team. Their job is to coordinate the movements of squads, the flow of supplies, and the use of support assets like artillery and aerial strafing runs. If you want games like Battlefield that isn't Battlefield, this game is definitely for you. It's been nearly 5 years since PUBG first appeared on Steam and popularized the idea of Battle Royale. Since then, the original Battle Royale has been locked in a fight for relevance against the many games it inspired, and only now has it dropped its entry fee and joined the ranks of its free-to-play competition. Although the game suffers from its lacks of gun feel that make games like Apex or Warzone so enjoyable to play, but the survival and tactical aspect from PUBG is still a top-tier experience. Ready or Not is a well-made tactical FPS that's tactically engaging but thematically regressive. Playing as the team leader of a 5-man police response unit, you tackle various tactical scenarios in real-world locations like hotels and gas stations, rescuing hostages, and neutralizing suspects. The gameplay aspect of Ready or Not is where the game truly excels, boasting quite possibly the best gunplay in the market at the moment. With the game's AI being painfully accurate, you can guarantee you and your friends will completely rethink your run and gun tactics on this one, as being reckless in the game will definitely punish you.
Drop to your knees.
Stay still.
Move it!
Deep Rock Galactic is the best kind of 4-player co-op game. The combat is fast and exciting, with tons of interesting synergies to find between the 4 distinct playable classes. The objectives on the various missions are wide-ranging enough to keep things interesting, but straightforward enough that a new player could drop in and get the hang of it pretty quickly. If you're looking for a new fresh experience for multiplayer FPS games, Deep Rock Galactic is definitely deserve your attention. No game has ever indulged our lack of humanity quite like Rust. This is the heart of Rust. Wake up naked, run for your life, do horrible things to one another. There is no grander narrative or mythos or win condition. For those who enjoy deadly games of cat and mouse, Rust might just be the best survival game out there. But anybody more interested in building and exploration, or isn't able to devote themselves to one game, may have a rough time. Escape from Tarkov is not a relaxing game. It is a survival game that takes the rules of Battle Royale and supersizes them. You choose what you take into each raid before trying to complete quests, loot valuable items, and kill enemy players or NPCs. If you can hack the massive amount of learning involved, there's nothing else quite like it. Right now, it's probably one of the most difficult multiplayer FPS games, but it does offer a completely unique experience. Call of Duty Modern Warfare was praised for its combat and multiplayer game design. The scale-up version of Ground War is a chaotic good time, and realism quite stings down a bit to present a uniquely delightful challenge. The rest of Modern Warfare's multiplayer ranges from great additions like gunfight and in-depth weapon customization to mediocre modes like Spec Ops. There sure is a lot to do in Modern Warfare, and that variety is important to keep things feeling fresh. Battlefield 1 single-player campaign is a short but pleasantly surprising anthology of small, human stories that does a good job spotlighting some of the key technology of the era. But it's a fantastic multiplayer that most strongly capitalizes on the potential of this old-school arsenal, bringing a number of subtle changes that keep the combat balanced and smart while still allowing for the hallmark chaos that makes Battlefield such a fantastic multiplayer FPS series. Battlefield 1's dynamically destructible environments and the balanced mechanics of its classes and gadgets keep the moment-to-moment first-person shooting varied and engaging. Halo Infinite has been one of the most anticipated games out there, and the fact that its multiplayer delivered a series classic feel while also keeping up with the modern-day competition in the FPS genre is a huge achievement. With some fantastic map design, a collection of highly engaging modes for both large and small groups, excellent weapons and gear options, Halo Infinite's multiplayer modes put it in the top tier of competitive shooters. Impressively, it manages to give nostalgic veterans the best of what they remember Halo multiplayer feeling like, while also smoothly introducing new players to the joys of Halo. Battlefield games have always had a mix of realistic gunplay mixed with an arcade style that bodes well with casual gamers. Battlefield 5 is no different. You have the option to play in various classes, each with its own set of arsenals, and you can choose between a wide variety of guns. Battlefield 5 still has a healthy player base in 2022, making it enjoyable even now. While the maps aren't the best we've seen in the series, but they definitely do keep the matches interesting. CSGO is arguably one of the most iconic FPS titles of its generation. The games are fast-paced without being unmanageable. Skill is rewarded in both the planning and outfitting stages as well as in battle, and good teamwork usually beats individual skills. Graphics, while improved from the source engine, are nothing fancy, and neither is the sound. Overall, CSGO adds plenty, tweaks a little, and keeps the best parts of the classic multiplayer FPS. Crytek games have always been a tense of mixture of technology crashed into not quite realized design ideas, but with Hunt Showdown, it feels like they finally took the laser pointer away from the rest of the team, and the results are a thematically coherent, punishing, and thrilling competitive shooter. While the matchmaking is generally pretty good in terms of finding players, you are going to die again and again in awful and hideous ways, but somehow it encourages you to learn more and be a better player. More importantly than any of that, it creates a unique identity because there's nothing else quite like it, and that alone is hugely rewarding. Call of Duty Warzone is a free-to-play battle royale and the franchise's attempt at perfecting the massively multiplayer manhunt. One of the biggest changes of Warzone is its approach to eliminated players. For a period of time, usually until the game gets towards the business end of things, any player killed in the field will be imprisoned in one of several gulags. There, you will queue up to fight an opponent 1v1 for the right to return to the main map. Its shooting is satisfying, its map rewarding to explore, and it offers more than enough interesting concepts like the gulag and contracts to make each match feel wholly unique wherever you land.
Win here and you return to the front line. You lose, your fight is over.
Apex has settled into a strong rhythm with its updates. Every 3 months brings a new season, and with it a new character and new weapon to make each season a distinct feel. The game's roots in the Source engine are what gives it a near limitless of mobility tricks, but that dated tech is also what leaves it feeling constantly on the verge of breakdown. Apex may not feel as polished as competitors like Warzone or Fortnite, but when it's working right, it's a joy to behold. It's wild how quickly Valorant has captured the collective consciousness of FPS fans. It's true that Valorant is Riot's best crack at CSGO, but the ways it combines CSGO's blueprint are what make it excellent. Anonymous gangs of counter-terrorists are replaced by a cast of vibrant agents with talents that match their personalities. It's not only fun to use, but inspires skill shots that aren't possible in CSGO.
Zone B, you have a
Destiny 2 can sometimes feel obscenely overwhelming. Its convoluted bounties and currencies and resources can be off-putting at first, especially for beginners. Don't worry about that though, you can play Destiny 2 any way you want to, embracing its secrets or disregarding them entirely, and it still offers an immensely good time whether you're a newcomer or a veteran. With the new expansion The Witch Queen that's getting a lot of good reviews recently, I'd say this is the perfect time for you to start your adventure. Alright boys, I think that's it for today. I know that maybe there are still a lot of multiplayer FPS games that I haven't mentioned yet. So how about sharing your best multiplayer FPS games that probably deserve a spot in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss another great list. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Peace.